and welcome back. I'm Ashley and this is my best friend Monica, and we are the Party of Two book club. We just did this past month where we decided we were going to read Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna together, and so I just randomly named us that. It was basically just her and I reading the book together and chatting over it. We pretty much texted every night just to let each other know where we were in the book and our thoughts, or like if one of us read ahead we'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't wait till you get to this part so we can talk about it, type of thing. So today we are just going to share with you our thoughts and opinions on the book, and then we figure we might go through some of the discussion questions that are in the back of the book. So I don't know if we'll have spoilers, but if we do, I will try to put like little timestamps here that you can skip so you don't hear spoilers. Or if you want to hear the spoilers, you can just go ahead and listen to all of it. So did you want to go ahead and share your thoughts on the book?
Okay.
To put you on the spot?
Yeah. So first, I really enjoyed it. I loved the characters. I thought they were so fun to get to know and to read about. I just thought it was like an easy read, a quick read, really fun, interesting, enjoyable. No complaints.
What would you give it, like a 1 through 5? How many stars would you give it?
I would give it a 4 out of 5 stars. I would really save my 5 out of 5s for something spectacular. But I wouldn't rate it down anymore. Like, I thought it was really good. 4 out of 5.
So I'm pretty much the opposite end of that. I think I felt like it didn't really have a plot. You were basically just reading two best friends' diaries. They were basically just like going through their life, and you were just reading it with no true endpoint in mind. I would say probably getting to the end of the book, obviously there is an endpoint in the book, but it didn't feel that way when you were reading it. So to me it was a little daunting to read it because there was nothing that we were trying to move towards. It was just like literally living your everyday life with these two girls. So I didn't really connect with them as much in the beginning, and I think that's probably why it took me like a long time and it felt daunting to read it, where like Monica seemed to connect with them like immediately. So it felt more like of a letdown as I read through the book and I got to the end. It was a big letdown to me. So I rated it 3 stars. I just don't think it was a book for me.
When I first started reading it, I was just gonna read like a chapter before bed that night just to get into it, see what it's about, and I could not put this book down. I texted Ashley the next morning because I told her, you know, I'm gonna start the book tonight, like I'm just gonna read a little bit. I texted her the next morning. I was on like chapter 5, chapter 6. I had cried through the first 5 chapters. I was just instantly connected.
That's like what, nearly 75 pages in through like chapter 5?
Yeah, it was a lot. I could not put it down because it was one of those things, especially at the very beginning. It was like, okay, I want to see what happens next. I can't stop reading. It's
like 60 pages.
Yeah.
For the first night when she was just gonna read a chapter.
Yeah. But it was because I was so emotionally attached from the very beginning to the characters and to the book that I just wanted to see what was gonna happen. It starts out when they're kids, and maybe because I'm a teacher and you know I spend a lot of time around kids, I just really felt drawn to them.
Right. Yeah. So I didn't, like I said, I didn't connect with them until probably about, I would say, maybe 350 pages in.
Let's see how many there are.
It's like 400 and some.
Yeah.
I just remember when I got to like 425, I was like, so I spent like nearly 400 pages getting connected to these characters, and then this big event happens. I don't want to give spoilers right away, but yeah, a big event happens and it's a big letdown to me, or at least it was to me.
Yeah, I feel like it's a very emotional read too, because like I said, it was probably the first 5 chapters, 6 chapters, I cried the whole way through them. And then in the middle of the book, there were times where like I would still get emotional, and then at the end of the book, I cried through the last 5-6 chapters too. So to me, it was just such an emotional read.
The end was definitely very emotional. I told Monica that I didn't even read the last.
She was gonna quit on me.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna read the last 2 chapters, and I did end up like skimming the second to last chapter, and I went back and I read the last chapter, but I couldn't do it. It was too much for me.
I told Ashley at the end of every chapter, at the end, I would have to go and blow my nose, collect myself, and then I still had a tissue in my hand as I was reading through it to like dab my eyes as I was reading, dab my nose as I was reading, but it was like a big blow at the end of every chapter. I had to get myself together. Thank goodness I live alone. Nobody asked me, what are you doing? What is wrong with you?
Yeah, Texan did kind of look at me and was like, are you okay?
It's just a book, honey.
Yeah, it's just a book. Yeah, so I guess we can go through some of these discussion questions, and we can talk through that a little bit now that we've kind of given our ratings and why we liked or did not like the book.
We should have probably highlighted like some good questions.
Yeah, that's true. It has just been a few seconds for you, but we had to stop, and it has been a few more days since we last talked to you. But we had to discuss which discussion questions we were going to talk about. So we figured that out, and we will read them and kind of talk through them with you.
Okay, so the first discussion question that we're going to talk about says, from her earliest memory, Tully feels abandoned by her mother and father. How does this sense of being unwanted influence her life? How does her troubled relationship with her mother lead to the decisions she makes in her life? Do children have an obligation of some kind to forgive their parents, even in the face of repeated disappointment? How much do you think childhood heartaches make us who we are? So I really wanted to talk about this question because the whole beginning of the book where it introduces Tully as a child and her mother, and how the scene where her mother took her away from her grandmother, her primary caretaker, and then took her to the festival, and then she lost her mother at the festival. I was crying. That part was so horrible for me because I couldn't even to think of a child going through that. That's so heartbreaking. And that right there, as it says in one of the questions, that will be with you. That's traumatizing. That will be with you for the rest of your life. And it's so sad that she went through that at such a young age, because she's never going to forget it, and it's always going to stick with her, and that is going to make her, that's going to have a lot to do with making her who she is. And I think that we saw evidence of Tully's heartbreak as a child throughout so much of the story, especially how she didn't really believe in love and she couldn't fall in love with anyone. And I feel like that's a direct correlation to how she had love as a child, but it wasn't from the people that she needed love from the most. It wasn't from her parents, and it wasn't from the one person that she was trying to seek out love from her. And then to go back to the main question, to one of the main questions, do children have an obligation of some time to forgive their parents, even in the face of repeated disappointments? I would say nobody has an obligation to forgive anybody. And I think that only sets children up to grow into adults that have more heartbreak in their life if they feel like there is an obligation to forgive people, even if it's their parents. I would say no for that one.
Okay. So I had all the things that I was going to talk about, and then listening to you, I forgot them. But so the first thing is about, you were talking about how Tully's mom takes her away from her grandmother and leaves her there, and I agree. I thought that was horrible as a parent. Why would you want to do that, to literally take your daughter out of a good situation and put her into a bad situation, especially when you're not gonna take care of her? So I thought that was horrible, but it didn't affect me as much as it did you. But I feel like Tully truly does carry it forward, because it looks like every time she's looking for attention, for in every single situation, she wants to be the best at this. She wants to get all the recognition as she's growing up, trying to go to these jobs that she's not qualified for yet, and she's just continually seeking attention from various people in her life. But for the question about is it an obligation to give forgiveness? I don't think it's an obligation, but I think when you stop harboring those negative feelings and you forgive a person in your mind, that it frees you to move on with your life. So you're not to say that you forgive somebody, obviously it's like gonna like free your mind up from always like being concerned that you're not enough for them, or like, you know, that like, so, you know, it just allows you to move on with your life. And so I feel like had she have done that earlier and just kind of like stopped worrying as much, that she could have moved on and found more like peace in her future life.
Fair enough. All right, so let's talk about Chad and Tully's relationship. So when Chad leaves Tully, she rationalizes away her broken heart by saying, if he really loved me, he would wait for me. What does this reveal about Tully's perception of romantic love? How do these perceptions set the stage for the rest of her life? Do you believe that Tully will ever fall in love?
So I think that as far as Chad and Tully goes, I understand her wanting to, like, you know, keep the relationship alive, especially because I do think that she had like strong feelings for him. But at the same time, it's a little self-centered of her to not want him to go forward and like do what he needs to do in his life as well. To think that literally everybody else's life should stop and revolve around hers is a little bit self-centered in my opinion. And that's kind of what I felt like she was wanting Chad to do, was like to not move forward with his life, just to like wait for her to be ready to go with, you know, whatever. So I feel like she needed to grow up a little bit, and I guess maybe it was like the age difference, because there was an age difference,
yeah.
right? Yeah, so maybe it was the age difference a little bit or whatever. But I think that through realizations through the book, I'm hoping that she will find love in the future, just because it seems like she did a lot of like growing, especially towards the end of the book.
Okay, so I understand where she's coming from, where if she says, if he really loved me, he would wait for me, but I just don't find that realistic that he's gonna wait for her, because I mean, life goes on, and even if he's trying to wait for her, but if she's not there, you know, other people, other opportunities come along, and it's just very unrealistic to even ask him to wait, which I mean, she knew that much, because she didn't. And this is not even part of the question, but I feel like that shows that Chad in a way did really love her. Well, I mean, we know he did, but it's so much love that he let her go.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I think that shows also what a good person he is to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could see a Tully falling in real love in the future, though. Just because of everything she's been through, and I mean, she was probably, pushing 50 by the end of the book.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
But I feel like just the end of the book maybe hopefully open her eyes a little bit more. And I don't know if these discussion questions were written before the sequel was written, so you might figure it out in the sequel if you read it. But yeah.
Yeah, and I would hope that she would fall in love, because I mean, she deserves that. But I don't know, because she's just she was always such an anti-love type person. I can't imagine her settling down, but that would be so sweet if she got to.
Yeah, plus she just seems to pick all of the men that didn't want to settle down. So.
Except for Chad.
Yeah, except for Chad. And then, yeah.
Were we going to do 6?
Yeah, I think so.
Alright, so the next question we want to talk about is, near the end of the novel, when their friendship is on the rocks, both women feel wronged. Certainly, Kate has ample reason to feel betrayed, but what about Tully's similar belief? Do you understand why Tully is upset too? Do you believe that a friend should always reach out even when great pain has been caused? Or do you believe that true friends will never hurt each other?
Okay, so I'm just going to start off by saying I totally believe that true friends will hurt each other. You just don't mean to. Like, that's not your intention.
Yeah, and it wasn't Tully's intention.
Yeah. Do you want to go first?
So I completely understand why she was upset, because even though it was one situation that happened, the way that Tully felt about it and what happened in her eyes was completely different than what happened in Kate's eyes. And Kate had her reason, like it said, ample reasons to be mad. But the way that Tully explained it, it's like, okay, yeah, in your mind you were just trying to help. Like, yes, I do see why you're mad. And it went a lot longer than I thought it would without them talking, because they're such, you know, true friends. So it's kind of a shame, especially with all the circumstances that happened once they did stop talking. It's a shame that they went through so much of life without each other. But like two true friends, they made it work and they rekindled their friendship.
I kind of agree. I think that Tully truly didn't think that she was coming off as bitchy as she did. I think that she was really trying to help, but like stepping back and looking at it from like an outsider's point of view, like she really did. She was really a bitch in that whole situation. But so I mean, I can see her point of view that she, in her mind, really thought that she was helping, but I think that she should, instead of when Kate called her and the voicemail got cut off, I feel like she should have just given up. Like, if Kate reached out, she should have just given up her anger as well and like reached back out to Kate, because like obviously, like, if your best friend has always been the one to like come and like smooth things over to you, then why would you think all of a sudden she was just calling to like argue with you again? Like, I just don't understand why Tully wanted to hold on to that anger so much that she just didn't call her friend back.
She's stubborn.
Yeah, I guess so. But I also, like, this is one reason that I did not like Tully, but I liked Kate, was because Kate was like the peacekeeper pretty much. And so like the fact that Kate was the one who always apologized really made me want Tully to apologize first in this last like fight. But I guess that really didn't happen. I mean, I guess she did, but it wasn't before like Kate had to call her. Like, it's not like she started it.
Yeah, so it didn't go how Kate wanted it to go.
Yeah. So I think that was all that we were going to talk about.
So would you recommend it?
I would recommend it with stipulations. Like I said in the beginning, that I would recommend it like if you enjoy like feeling like you're hanging out with friends, like with no real plot, then I would say try it out. So would you recommend it?
So yeah, I would recommend it. I just thought it was a fun, deep read. Yeah, and then it's something, I think, something you can talk about. It gives you something to talk about.
Yeah, that's true.
Brings up good
That's true, because even though I didn't like it, we talked a lot about it. Like, even like well after, or like in between this video, like we were still talking about Kate and Tully, like, oh, like this like reminds us of them type of thing. So especially for like a book club, I would say it's a perfect like book club read. But
Agreed.
But bring the tissues.
Yeah, like the whole box.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep. So thank you for joining us for our discussion of Firefly Lane by Kristen and Hannah, and I will see y'all again soon.
Bye guys.
Bye guys.